Okay, 8.5 colonies. Colonies. Much of the world once consisted of colonies of European states. Most remaining colonies are islands with small populations. Although most of Earth's land area has been allocated to sovereign states, some territories remain that have not achieved self determination and statehood. A colony is a territory that is legally tied to a sovereign state rather than being completely independent. In some cases, a sovereign state runs only the colony's military and foreign policy. In others, it also controls the colony's internal affairs. The remaining colonies. At one time, colonies were widespread over Earth's surface, but only a handful remain today. The United Nations lists 17 places in the world that it calls non-self-governing territories. Of the 17, Western Sahara is by far the most extensive, which is 266,000 square kilometers, and most populous, around 500,000. The two next populous are French Polynesia and New Caledonia, both controlled by France, with around 250,000 inhabitants each. All but Western Sahara are islands. The least populated colony is Pitcairn Island, a 36 square kilometer, 14 square mile possession of the United Kingdom. The island is in the South Pacific. The island in the South Pacific was settled in 1790 by British mutineers from the ship Bounty, commanded by Captain William Bligh. Its 50 islanders survived by selling fish as well as postage stamps to collectors. Excuse me. The UN list does not include territories that are uninhabited, such as Baker and Midway Islands, controlled by the United States. The UN also does not list inhabited territories that it considers to have considerable autonomy and self-governing. For example, Puerto Rico, a commonwealth of the United States. Puerto Ricans are citizens of the United States, but they do not participate in U.S. elections or have a voting member of Congress. Greenland, an autonomous unit within the Kingdom of Denmark. Greenland runs its internal affairs, but Denmark maintains control of foreign affairs and defense. Hong Kong and Macau, attached to the mainland of China as special administrative regions within the People's Republic of China. Hong Kong was a colony of the United Kingdom until it returned to China in 1977, and a year later Portugal returned its colony of Macau. The two have some autonomy in economic matters, but China controls foreign affairs and defense. Okay, so here's a picture of Bermuda. Some colonies you can see. All right. Polar regions, many claims. The South Pole region contains the only large landmass on Earth's surface that is not part of a state. Several states, including Argentina, Australia, Chile, France, New Zealand, Norway, and the United Kingdom, claim portions of Antarctica. Argentina, Chile, and the United Kingdom have made conflicting, overlapping claims. The United States, Russia, and a number of other states do not recognize the claims of any country to Antarctica. The Antarctica Treaty, originally agreed to in 1959 and currently signed by 50 states, provides a legal framework for managing Antarctica. States may establish research stations there for scientific investigations, but no military activities are permitted. As for the Arctic, the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea permitted countries to submit claims inside the Arctic Circle by 2009. The Arctic region is thought to be rich in energy resources, but it's very cold, so I don't know why people would want to go there. That is just a side note by Mrs. Jensen. Okay, colonialism. European states came to control much of the world through colonialism. which is an effort by one country to establish settlements in a territory and to impose its political, economic, and cultural principles on that territory. European states established colonies elsewhere in the world for three basic reasons: to promote Christianity, to extract useful resources and to serve as captive markets for their products, to establish relative power through the number of their colonies. These three motives have been summarized as God, gold, and glory. The colonial era began in the 1400s when European explorers sailed westward for Asia, but encountered and settled in the Western Hemisphere instead. Eventually, the European states lost most of their Western Hemisphere colonies. Independence was declared by the United States in 1776 and by most Latin American states between 1800 and 1824. European states then turned their attention to Africa and Asia. The United Kingdom planted colonies through much of eastern and southern Africa, South Asia, the Middle East, Australia, and Canada. With by far the largest colonial empire, the British proclaimed that the sun never set on their empire. France had the second largest overseas territory, primarily in West Africa and Southeast Asia. France attempted to assimilate its colonies into French culture and educate an elite group to provide local administrative leadership. After independence, most of these leaders retained close ties with France. Most African and Asian colonies became independent after World War II. Only 15 African and Asian states were members of the United Nations when it was established in 1945, compared to 106 in 2012. The boundaries of the new states frequently coincide with former colonial provinces, although not always. All right, so here are your disputed, claim, claim, and then disputed claim, okay, by each country. And then here are the colonial possessions of each country, okay, and the world. All right. Okay.